Why do some women give their bodies to men who never earned their souls? Why does love turn into obsession, even when it hurts? Every touch hides a silent deal. Safety traded for validation, desire disguised as surrender. Tonight, we tear open the illusion and expose the psychology of control. 1. The hidden contract of desire attraction isn't random. It's a psychological exchange. Every connection hides an invisible contract. You'll give me what I crave emotionally, and I'll give you what you crave physically. But this contract is never balanced. One partner gives validation, the other gives meaning, and whoever provides meaning always wins control. When a woman feels deeply understood, her subconscious equates that feeling with safety. That's when the body follows the mind. Because to the female psyche, emotional safety is survival. But here's the part they don't want you to know. Safety isn't created by consistency. It's created by perceived depth. A man who appears emotionally complex becomes a riddle her mind must solve. The mystery acts like a magnetic field. The less he reveals, the more valuable his attention becomes. It's not about affection. It's about scarcity. Analogy. Think of poker. The player who hides his cards forces others to show theirs first. The same principle governs seduction. The less you expose, the more they invest. She thinks she's choosing freely, but every choice is guided by an invisible reward system. Attention, validation, recognition. Once she starts chasing those rewards, she's no longer evaluating reality. She's protecting her emotional investment. Myth versus fact. Myth. Women sleep with men they love. Fact. Many sleep with men who make them feel significant. And that significance, it's engineered. But if emotional safety drives surrender, why do so many women fall for men who make them feel unsafe? The answer lies in the paradox of danger. 2. The paradox of emotional danger. Freud said, desire is born from conflict, not comfort. Dark psychology proves it daily. Women don't chase calm, they chase contrast. Emotional danger, inconsistency, mystery, tension triggers a chemical rush. Every push and pull creates a dopamine spike, the same pattern found in gambling addiction. Each time she loses his attention, the brain enters withdrawal. Each time he returns, dopamine floods the system. Pleasure, pain, repeat. The loop becomes a cage made of her own chemistry. That's why the nice guy often fails. His predictability kills anticipation. Without tension, there's no reward. Without risk, no thrill. Myth versus fact. Myth. Women crave constant affection. Fact. They crave emotional volatility that feels like passion. The darker truth? Uncertainty builds emotional value. When she's unsure where she stands, her mind works overtime to earn clarity. That mental effort bonds her tighter than love ever could. Analogy. A gambler knows the odds are against him, yet the next pull might win. The brain locks onto that maybe. In relationships, maybe is the most powerful drug. He becomes the unpredictable reward. And the more unpredictable the reward, the stronger the addiction. Have you ever found yourself obsessed with someone who gave you chaos instead of comfort? That wasn't attraction. That was intermittent reinforcement hijacking your nervous system. If chaos creates desire, then who truly holds the power? Is it the one who loves more, or the one who controls uncertainty? 3. The dominance illusion. Every relationship hides a silent power struggle, but real domination rarely looks aggressive. It wears the mask of freedom. The Machiavellian understands this. He doesn't seize control, he frames it. He lets her believe every move is hers, while subtly shaping the board. Analogy. In chess, the master never forces you into checkmate. He designs the game so every choice leads there. In dark seduction, the same principle applies. He mirrors her emotions just enough to build trust. He withdraws just enough to build fear. Each shift resets the balance of control. Here's how it works. What feels like passion is actually conditioning. He's training her to respond to his rhythm. Every reappearance feels like victory, and victory feels like love. Myth versus fact. Myth. The dominant partner is the louder one. Fact. The dominant partner is the less invested one. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are more ready to offend one they love than one they fear." In attraction, it flips. Women are more ready to please the one they fear losing than the one they already have. True dominance hides behind gentleness, control disguised as care, affection calibrated like a weapon. Have you ever chased someone who seemed calm, collected, and just out of reach? That distance wasn't neglect. It was design. 4. The power of controlled vulnerability. To the untrained eye, vulnerability looks like weakness. But in dark psychology, it's bait. When you reveal a carefully chosen wound, people lower their guard. It's called reciprocal disclosure, a psychological reflex that forces others to match your emotional openness. The manipulator knows this. He shares just enough truth to appear genuine, yet never enough to be exposed. It's not honesty, it's emotional framing. Example: I don't usually open up, but with you, it feels different. That single sentence implants two ideas. She's special. He trusts her. Her subconscious instantly assigns emotional value to that exchange, because being trusted triggers significance, one of the deepest female emotional needs. But here's the dark twist. He never truly opens up. He simulates it. He gives the illusion of intimacy to access the real thing from her. She begins to overshare, chasing the same depth he pretends to offer. And the more she reveals, the more control he gains. Because information is currency, and emotional data is the most valuable of all. Analogy: a spy never needs to steal secrets from a locked vault. He makes you hand them over, because you believe you're safe. This is how the manipulator creates emotional debt. She confesses, he listens. She invests, he withdraws. Soon, she's tied not by love, but by exposure. Myth versus fact myth. Vulnerability creates equality. Fact, controlled vulnerability, creates dependency. Because once someone feels emotionally seen, they fear losing that validation more than anything. It is not the man she craves. It is the reflection of herself he constructed in his presence. Have you ever opened up to someone and later realized they revealed nothing real about themselves? That wasn't connection. That was data collection disguised as empathy. But what happens when emotional exposure meets reward? When validation becomes the prize she keeps chasing, even at her own expense, that's where addiction begins. 5. The addiction loop. Emotional dependency and reward cycles. Every manipulative relationship runs on one core mechanism: intermittent reinforcement. It's the same principle casinos use. Random rewards create the strongest addictions. The brain releases dopamine not during the reward itself, but in anticipation of it. So when he becomes inconsistent, hot one day, cold the next, her mind stays trapped in a cycle of anticipation and relief. Each high is powerful but temporary. Each withdrawal feels unbearable, yet she waits for the next hit. That's not romance, that's chemical enslavement. Over time, her nervous system adapts. The emotional roller coaster becomes her new normal. Chaos feels like chemistry. Silence feels like punishment. And the person causing the pain becomes the only one who can ease it. Analogy: a lion tamer doesn't earn the lion's love, he earns its dependency. The animal learns that the same hand which strikes also feeds. That's how emotional addiction forms. She doesn't chase happiness, she chases relief. The relief that only comes when he gives attention again. Myth versus fact myth. Women stay because they love deeply. Fact: many stay because they're trapped in an invisible feedback loop, one designed by manipulation. And here's the truly dark part. Every withdrawal strengthens the attachment, because suffering intensifies meaning. The more pain she feels for him, the more her mind convinces her it must be love. Modern psychology calls this trauma bonding, a paradoxical attachment where fear and affection coexist. Her body literally becomes addicted to the chemicals of stress, cortisol, dopamine, oxytocin, cycling in a toxic rhythm. Example: he disappears after an argument, she spirals. Then he reappears, calm, apologetic, tender. Her brain links relief to reunion. Every reconciliation strengthens the bond that broke her. And once that bond forms, logic becomes useless. You can't reason with addiction. You can only feed or starve it. Have you ever wondered why some people can leave a relationship even after seeing all the red flags? It's not weakness, it's neurochemistry working against them. But if the addiction is so strong, how do manipulators keep it hidden? How do they design control so deep that even self-aware people can't see it? That's the Machiavellian blueprint, control built inside the subconscious. 6. The Machiavellian blueprint, how control is built subconsciously. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote, "He who controls perception controls reality." In dark psychology, that's not philosophy. It's a manual. Because control doesn't start with domination. It starts with framing. Framing is the art of defining what's normal. If you can make someone accept your behavior as just how things are, you don't need to enforce power. they'll enforce it on themselves. Here's how the blueprint unfolds. Step 1. Establish emotional contrast. He switches between intensity and detachment. This contrast keeps her emotionally unstable, constantly seeking equilibrium. The uncertainty makes his validation feel like salvation. Step 2. Reframe conflict as passion. He turns arguments into proof of chemistry. People who don't care don't fight this hard, he'll say. Conflict becomes intimacy. Pain becomes proof of depth. Step 3. Redefine boundaries as love. He subtly teaches that sacrifice equals devotion. If she gives up friends or freedom for him, he calls it loyalty. Soon she's proud of her own submission. Alassi 7. The surrender psychology. Why women give in. Even when they know better, there's a moment in every toxic dynamic when logic dies quietly. She knows the truth but still returns. Why? Because surrender is not weakness. It's relief. The mind can only fight tension for so long. When emotional chaos becomes unbearable, surrender feels like peace. That's the cruel design of psychological domination. The very act of giving up feels like control returning. Example, she says, "I just want to feel normal again." What she really means is, "I want to stop hurting," and he's the only one who can stop it, because he's the one causing it. Freud called this repetition compulsion, the unconscious drive to relive trauma until it feels safe. The manipulator doesn't heal her wounds. He recreates them in a controlled environment where he holds the power to soothe. That's why she interprets pain as passion. Her brain confuses stress chemistry for emotional depth. Cortisol plus oxytocin, attachment, fear plus relief, devotion. Every reunion, every apology, every touch after conflict rewires her neural map. It tells her this pain must be worth it because it always ends in love. Analogy. A prisoner who is fed after starvation doesn't hate the cage. He thanks the captor for the meal. Over time, her self-concept erodes. She stops asking, "Is this right?" and starts asking, "What did I do wrong?" And when she reaches that point, control is complete. Myth versus fact. Myth. Women stay because they're weak. Fact. They stay because manipulation turns suffering into meaning, and meaning is harder to abandon than love. Her surrender isn't just emotional, it's neurological. Her identity fuses with the bond. Leaving him would mean leaving herself. And that's the dark genius of this cycle. He never forces her to stay, she chooses to. Choice built on illusion is still choice. Have you ever watched someone defend the very person who broke them, or been that person yourself? That's not madness. That's conditioning wearing the mask of loyalty. But every system of control has a cost, because in the end both sides pay. One with freedom, the other with emptiness. This is the dark exchange. 8. The dark exchange. Power, control, and emotional collapse. Power always demands payment. The manipulator trades authenticity for dominance. The victim trades freedom for illusion. Both lose something human. When intimacy becomes a transaction, connection dies. What remains is possession. One feeds on validation, the other on control, and together they mistake dependency for love. Historical reference. In The Prince, Machiavelli warned that fear maintains loyalty better than affection. In modern psychology, the principle hasn't changed. Only the language has. Fear of abandonment now keeps the kingdom intact. This dark exchange runs on 3 silent currencies. Emotional attention. She fuels his ego. He becomes her emotional regulator. Psychological energy. Each argument, apology, or reunion feeds the cycle. Identity. She becomes the one who loves him, and he becomes the one she can't escape. When those currencies collapse, both experience withdrawal. He feels unseen, she feels empty. That's why many toxic bonds repeat long after ending. The addiction outlives the relationship. Analogy. Think of 2 mirrors facing each other. Each reflects the other's emptiness forever. That's the illusion of eternal love. Endless reflection, zero substance. Myth versus fact. Myth. The manipulator always wins. Fact. He wins the game but loses the self. Because once everything is controlled, nothing is real. The woman loses peace, the man loses authenticity. Both become slaves to the same illusion, power through possession. And here's the cruel irony. The deeper the control, the faster it collapses. Because the human soul was never built to live in cages, even gilded ones. So when the silence finally feels louder than the thrill, when the eyes that once hypnotized now look hollow. That's when awakening begins. Awakening doesn't start with anger. It starts with clarity. She realizes that love was never the weapon. It was the disguise. Do you think true connection can survive once power enters the equation? Or is every relationship a subtle game of control? Drop your thoughts below. This is where the real psychology begins. So what really drives women to sleep with men? It isn't lust alone. It's psychological architecture. A hidden system built on emotional scarcity, mystery disguised as depth, controlled vulnerability, connection used as bait, intermittent reinforcement, chaos repackaged as passion, framing an illusion, dominance masked as love. Behind every surrender lies a negotiation between desire and survival. And until you see the invisible contracts, you'll keep signing them with your heart. But once you understand how these patterns work, you stop being the pawn and start studying the board. So if you're drawn to uncovering what really shapes human behavior, the manipulations, the mind games, the hidden motives, then this is your moment. Subscribe to Eclipse of Insight, because knowledge is the only shield against manipulation. And the darkest truths are the ones that set you free.